Welcome to Keep Traveling Your African Story, the only podcast that shares the real voices and journeys shaping African tourism. I'm your host, Rael Zieve, and through my inbound tour operation, Keep Traveling, I've had the privilege of connecting travelers from all around the world with the magic of Africa. This podcast is my way of opening that world up to you, a place to learn about the people, properties, and opportunities that make travel across this continent so very special. Today, I'm reintroducing Wendy Dold, who's been on my show before, who's the sales manager of Mfulawozi Private Game Reserve, who joins me to share her African story about this property. Wendy, welcome back to the show.
Hi, Rael. Nice to be back. Thanks for having me.
Tell us for our guests whereabout this property is in South Africa.
Okay, so Mfulawozi, and I'll explain the name, is in KwaZulu-Natal. It's on the southern border of the Mfulawozi Game Reserve, which is considered the oldest proclaimed game reserve in Africa. And Mfulawozi is on land that belongs to the communities, two clans, the Mthembu and the Biyela clan, who are direct descendants of King 𝐝𝐿𝐴. So it's quite an important part of our experience. We connect on the southern boundary of the Mfulawozi Park. The fences have been dropped, and so we have been incorporated into the park.
For international guests that want to come to the game reserve, I noticed that we have two different lodges on the game reserve. So tell us about the difference in the lodges and what amenities each lodge has.
Okay, so we have two lodges, each named after the two clans who own the land, the Mthembu clan and the Biyela clan. I'll start with Mthembu. Mthembu is our family-friendly lodge. Both lodges are 5-star. Both lodges operate off the grid as far as possible, and at both lodges we are totally committed to sustainable tourism and best practice wherever possible. Thembu Lodge is where I would recommend first-time safari goers because its style is slightly more in the style of a traditional safari lodge. The colors are organic, they are muted, it's very understated, and the lodge is set down on the floodplain, so it's really great. So if animals are walking past, you really feel that you are part of it. It has 9 villas, of which 2 are 2-bedroom units, which are available for families, which makes it really nice because families are then in one unit together. They're not in separate buildings as such. That is Thembu. It's all on one level, which is also nice if you have anybody with mobility issues because there's no problem with moving from each villa back to the main area. And the vibe at Thembu is very relaxed, very inclusive, very social. Everybody congregates around the sort of living areas, the bar area, which opens out onto the pool. And it's got a really lovely, relaxed feel about it. Biyela Lodge is absolutely beautiful. In 2025, it was named the most luxurious lodge in KwaZulu-Natal. It is funky, it's zany, it's modern. Its colors are the colors of Africa. When you look at the pictures, you see that they are the colors of Africa, but they're not really what we consider the traditional colors. And so it's charcoals and lime greens and mustards. And there is a very strong safari element to it, but it is modern. I would recommend it to somebody who's already done a safari, maybe a second or third time traveler. Biyela Lodge, unfortunately, is not family friendly, mainly because of its location and the style and the design. It is built up on the cliff face, overlooking the plains of the White Mfulawozi River. And so as opposed to Mthembu, where you are down on the floodplains, here you have these expansive views looking out over the floodplains, which obviously is where a lot of animals congregate. And that's it in a nutshell. But the other thing is that 10 of the 12 villas have private plunge pools. There is a slight rate difference between the two properties, but it's just really the different style.
So if I'm coming to that area, would there be a reason for me to stay at the two different lodges? Or is staying at one lodge, I'm going to see pretty much the same reserve as I would be staying at the other lodge?
Rael, that's really interesting. So we offer throughout the year, apart from peak season times, we do offer a pay 3, stay 4 stay. And when guests do that, we actually have them stay 2 nights at one lodge and 2 nights at the other lodge. The land which we have had incorporated into the park, we have exclusive access to that. So the guests would traverse that area from both lodges. However, the fences have been dropped between us and Mfulawozi. And so we have access into the greater park, which is just on 100,000 hectares, I think, if I'm not mistaken. So you really do have an enormous area that you traverse, and one doesn't really feel as if you are repeating routes.
Before I get out into the game reserve, I want to talk about the food. People generally worry about their stomachs and what they're going to be drinking. So tell us about what culinary experiences guests can expect when staying at either of the lodges.
Okay, so like everywhere in South Africa, food is really important to us. We love it, we love sharing it, we love presenting it, and we love having it in different places and surprising our guests. Our food is all freshly prepared on the property. We've had some particular requests. They've sent their party out ahead to check, and it's never been a problem and things. Our food is lovely. As I said, it's freshly prepared. It has a strong South African flavor, but it's also, we're not going to push you out of your comfort zone and give you anything that you might not want to have. What we do like doing is ringing the changes as to where we serve the meals and things. So it may be on the veranda, it may be in one of the dining rooms. We may surprise you on a game drive. We may surprise you at lunch. We may tell you when you get back from your evening game drive that we're going out again to have dinner in the bush, and that is part of the experience in that. The climate is just so great in KwaZulu-Natal with its sort of subtropical climate that we really can enjoy outdoor eating as much as possible. So our rate is an all-inclusive rate. We have a South African rate which is slightly different, but our standard rate is all-inclusive, and it includes your activities, luxury accommodation, all your meals, and our house wines and our house drinks and things. What isn't included is if you choose to do a game walk, a bush walk, or possibly one of the spa treatments and that, but your game drives and everything are included, yeah.
Okay, so let's talk about the game drives. We go out on a game drive. What flora and fauna can we expect to see?
Scenically, it's an incredibly beautiful place, and over and above the flora and fauna, which we'll chat about, is also the very strong commitment to preserving the Zulu culture. A lot of our staff are Zulus themselves, and throughout the game drive and throughout the activities, throughout the stays, you will have the staff just reflecting back on their perspective as a Zulu from the community. And that's really a special part of it, because the land that the properties are on is where King 𝐝𝐿𝐴 honed his military skills. It's of enormous difficulty. It's sometimes considered as the spiritual home of the Zulu nation. And then, of course, it's also where Dr. Ian Player and Mthembu, his assistant, initiated the very first anti-rhino, white rhino poaching campaign. That is really significant. That forms the three pillars of experience: the fantastic game viewing and the flora and fauna, which I'll chat about now. Central to the whole property is the White Mfulawozi River, which runs through the property. There's the river where there's a lot of game, and there is all the indigenous plants and fauna that you would find there. It is a wilderness area. It will be kept a wilderness area, which means that there will be no additional roads developed in that area, which means that the plants and things will remain as they are. From a game point of view, the game viewing is absolutely incredible. So Mthembu Lodge Game Reserve, as I said, is considered the oldest proclaimed game reserve in Africa. And this means that we have enormous herds of animals. We really do have fantastic sightings. It's almost as if the game have realized that it's much quieter in our area because of our exclusive access. At any given time, there will never be many vehicles and things. And we really are spoilt for choice. We do have the big five. We recently had a pack of wild dogs standing down in the south, so we were having fantastic sightings of that. Cheetah seem to flourish in KwaZulu-Natal, so we have great sightings of cheetah. Obviously, we have great sightings of lion, and then, of course, the rhino. We have black and white rhino, which is really special. Unfortunately, we've had to start dehorning, but it is what it is. We have them, and we have great sightings of both. And then elephants, buffalo, and of course all the plains game. Lovely bird life, and because of the river, we have both the sort of aquatic type birds and the other birds.
So you mentioned that if I wanted to do a walking safari, I might have to pay in for that. So this is obviously something that's not a general activity that's offered. Your general activities are driving safaris, but I'm a fan of walking. I think it's great. I think you get up closer to the smaller animals. Everyone's always talking about the big five, but very few people talk about the little five. Should I put you on the spot there about what the little five are, Wendy?
I'd rather you didn't at the moment, but that is exactly why we have the walks and things. We have found, though, that not everybody feels comfortable with walking. And we find that people are more comfortable about the idea of walking if they've done a couple of safaris beforehand. A lot of our guests do opt for it. they would go out for a 2.5 to 3 hour walk with the guides. Our guides are all fully trained. There's a front and a back guide, and it really is an opportunity to, as you say, get up close and personal, find out about the smaller details, and really be extended beyond just looking for the big game. Having said that, even on the game drives, it's not a game reserve. You're not going to go around every corner and see animals and things. There's a lot of time to talk about the bush, to talk about the medicinal qualities of the trees, of plants that the guides might have grown up with, to look at the landscape, to talk about the river. Our game drives are very much more than looking for the big five. Obviously, we recognize that that is what people coming to South Africa are looking for, are wanting. And that is one of the reasons why we and most game reserves will recommend a 3-night stay, just to really give you time to settle in and to enjoy more than just ticking boxes.
So you recommend that 3-night stay, but let me ask you this. Why, with all the different game reserves around, not just South Africa, but Southern Africa, even Eastern Africa, what makes Mfulawozi different, and why should people give thought to coming and spending time with you?
We are in the malaria-free area of KwaZulu-Natal, which is really important, especially if you're going to be traveling with families and things. I think one of the biggest attractions for coming to KwaZulu-Natal or to having a safari in KwaZulu-Natal, and here I speak for the whole region, it is such incredible value for money. Our prices are obviously far more affordable than possibly they would be in some of the areas of Kruger. We are also finding that a lot of our guests are saying they're looking for places that are not as crowded as some of the other lodges and some of the other areas. And then, of course, there's the option of combining a bush and a beach experience in KwaZulu-Natal, which is really fantastic. Then we also have the Drakensberg for people who are, adventure-based, and then the battlefields, which is such an important part of the UK market coming to South Africa. It's a fantastic aspect to add into an itinerary. And if you're in KwaZulu-Natal, then just to combine it with the bush and the beach combination, it just makes it the best of South Africa. So I would say malaria-free, incredible climate, and combination of bush and beach, and the value for money would be the main reasons to consider.
Sure. No, it makes sense. You can definitely spend 12 or 14 days in KwaZulu-Natal doing all those things. Tell me a little bit about the two different clans that you've mentioned. For our listeners, they might not be able to understand what the differences are. And can you see the difference? Can you hear the difference? Do they act differently, the people?
No, they don't. They are basically two families who are still in that area. And as other cultures may have families and family trees, there are two different clans. They live alongside each other. Everybody knows each other. Thembu Lodge is built on the land that is owned by the Mthembu clan. They're all of Zulu culture, proud Zulu heritage, and as I said, direct descendants of King 𝐸𝐿𝐴.
For people that are traveling to South Africa for the first time, that are still a little bit nervous of perhaps security aspects of coming to South Africa, what would you say to those people?
There's a lot of narrative, there's a lot of noise online about security in South Africa. Like any country, I think I would say just be conscious, equip yourself with information and things. In a place like KwaZulu-Natal and where we are situated, because part of our attraction is our remoteness, we strongly recommend transfers. One would land in Durban at King 𝐸𝐿𝐴 Airport, which is about half an hour north of Durban itself. And we have transfer companies which will pick you up from the airport. So you don't really go into any of the areas that have had negative publicity and things. But we do recommend a transfer. We know the roads, we know the way.
Listen, I think driving on the South African roads or African roads are an experience in themselves. I sent some people on a safari not so long ago, and the guy came back after the safari and he said, Rael, he said the wild animals were one thing, but the real frightening experience was driving on the South African roads. I think you and I both know what that's like. And also I think you get to take in more of the scenery if you're not having to concentrate on the roads themselves, right?
Absolutely. And driving through the Zululand hills into the interior, it is absolutely magnificent. Access to the lodge is well signposted. And when you get to the lodge, you actually then leave your vehicles and then we transport you from the gates.
Wendy, the best time to visit KwaZulu-Natal, what would you suggest to listeners?
I would suggest anywhere from March, April. Our rainy season is January, February. Bear in mind that our rainy season, it's not about having days and days of rain. It's about maybe having a thunderstorm in the late afternoon. So it's never cold, probably from March through to December.
People obviously coming on their holidays. Give us your top 3 items that they should be packing when coming to KwaZulu-Natal.
Real sunscreen, always. Comfortable walking clothes. We are a very relaxed country. One doesn't need to dress for dinner and things. I would suggest bringing clothes that can be layered, that you can put on and take off. Don't forget your bathing costume because we swim all year round in KwaZulu-Natal. I would say to anybody coming to South Africa, bring your binoculars. Whether you're going to be in the winelands or whether you're going to be on the top of Table Mountain, it's just great to have them. Come for a relaxed holiday and just come comfortable and ready just to enjoy it.
Wendy, as part of the Rainbow Nation, which is what South Africa is, tell us what all the different people are like.
We are friendly, we are relaxed, we are helpful. 99% of the people mean well, mean good. There's enormous diversity, whether it's religion, whether it's wealth, whether it's lifestyle. There are challenges. But when you're actually living in South Africa, we are all involved with it. A South African is not likely to put you in a dangerous situation.
And I know as part of your introduction of the lodges, you've been kind enough in offering a prize giveaway for people coming to KwaZulu-Natal. Would you mind telling us what it is that you are giving away?
Yes, we would like to give away a 2-night stay at Mthembu Lodge. And that rate would include accommodation, local food and beverages, and just an incredible safari experience.
Wendy, again, thank you so much for coming on my show and telling us about Mfulawozi in KwaZulu-Natal. I think I finally got my pronunciation correct. It's been really great, and I'm sure our listeners are going to find it super fascinating to hear about it. Thanks again for coming on the show.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much, Wendy, for sharing your story and for everything you're doing to grow African tourism. Don't forget, every week we feature fantastic prize giveaways from some of Africa's most beautiful lodges, camps, and travel partners. You could win your own unforgettable getaway just by listening, subscribing, or visiting www.keeptraveling.africa/podcast, or read more about today's guest by scanning through the show notes of today's episode. Don't forget to follow Keep Traveling on social media for the latest episodes, stories, and travel inspiration. I'm Rael Zieve, and this has been Keep Traveling, your African story. Remember, a few years from now, you won't remember how much it cost you, but you'll always remember the memories you made. Keep traveling.